Hi, Nigel here with the Drivewire, and I have a very large and very white SUV. But can you guess what it is? Sadly, the Toyota Land Cruiser is dead in the US. We are supposed to not get that car. I hope we do, but in the meantime, you can still get the 2021 Lexus LX570, this huge white thing behind me. Now, it is getting slightly old. A all-new one is on the way, but meanwhile, this one somewhat dates back to the Jurassic era, and its competition, being Mercedes, Audi, and BMW, are way ahead when it comes to on-road finesse, technology, and all that good stuff. But the cool news is that Lexus and Toyota, because this is essentially based on a Land Cruiser with a tuxedo, actually comes in around the same price as a Land Cruiser and has some particularly cool things up its sleeve when it comes to off-road ability. It's got crawl control, it's got a fully locking center differential, it's got permanent all-wheel drive. It also has height adjustable suspension, which gives it 11 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty good in consideration that in this particular case it's wearing these 21-inch wheels, which are not particularly good for off-roading, and neither are the tires. These are just regular street tires, but we are going to test it. We're going to check out how much of a hill this thing will go up when we test it off-road later. The other cool thing it has, and we'll demonstrate that later, it has a thing called turn assist, which if you're going that way to the left, it locks this rear wheel and makes a tighter turning circle for tricky maneuvers when you're out in the middle of nowhere. So what about its looks? Well, it's boxy. It looks kind of cool. This one's got the black package, so everything black, wheels, door handles, mirrors, badge, etc. is black. It looks kind of cool on the with the pearlescent white paint. Comes in at $103,000, but bear in mind that a equivalent BMW Audi, which might cost you the same amount, is going to die and be on the scrap heap in several years, whereas this car is built to last 25 years. So you make your choice. If you've got $100,000 burning a hole in your pocket, if you want to go off-road, then this is probably your main choice. So from the front, it has the unmistakable Darth Vader front grille, absolutely massive. It's got these triple beam headlights here, these cool little sort of L-shaped lights right here. I think it looks pretty good. One thing I do like is the clamshell split tailgate. It's great for dogs because then they don't immediately jump out when that opens, and a lot of these automatic systems are so damn slow. They take forever to open and then your dogs run out. So this is a pretty good little barrier, and then it just drops down, and then it's plenty solid enough to take some weight for loading stuff, etc. This is sort of where you have the problem, in that there's very limited space in the back with this third row. So the good news is you can actually delete this. It saves you $4,000 or $5,000, which is not something I would need, but if you had a lot of children, then maybe you want to squeeze them into the back, and I'll show you what kind of a squeeze that is in a second. Fortunately, with all seats up, you get about 16, maybe 17 cubic feet of space. That is not a lot. Pop those headrests down. There's two buttons here. Just load those down. Pretty severe. And then we're going to make sure that they just... And there they go. So this is the problem. The problem is that the seats, instead of being able to fold into the floor because there isn't room, they fold to the side. So another good reason to not specify these rear seats, because they take up a ton of room. But having said that, once you have these seats up and stowed to the side, you get about 41 cubic feet of space right here. And then you can simply stow these up there. Then you have quite a decent amount of space in which to stow stuff. But the seats are huge, they don't stow very well, there's not a lot of room, they sort of bounce around a little bit, they don't lock into place, and then the rear DVD entertainment system sort of causes them to sort of float around a little bit. It's not a great system, but it's what you've got. There's a small amount of stowage space in the rear here, just a little bit of cubby space right here, and then here you get your jack, etc., for if you unfortunately need to change that tire. So getting into the back is slightly tricky. I've got to put this seat up, and then I got to climb in. Oh yeah. And then I got to put this down, and then I got to put this up, back to the position. Well, there's not a whole lot of room. Your knees are way in the air. Actually, headroom's okay for me, not too bad, but I think kids only, really, and they may not be happy for very long, or contortionists from the circus might be okay sitting back here for any length of time, but not me. So I gotta get out. And it's not exactly easy. The hood is Toyota's bulletproof 5.7 liter V8, which is used across a whole range of different vehicles. This one has 383 horsepower, 403 foot-pounds of torque, driven through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, we do know that the new Land Cruiser is going to have the new twin turbo 6 with 409 and 480 plus foot-pounds. I think this car will be great. If it knocks like a second or two, or second and a half off the 0 to 60 time, that will make this car a lot more interesting, and particularly if it remains as good as it is off-road. Inside, in the front seat, it is as comfortable as you would expect. These seats are fantastic, super soft leather, heating and cooling for both passenger and the driver, multi-way power, really nice wheel. Don't really like this hard stuff that they put on. I'd prefer a leather wrapped all around. So I'm not really going to rag on the infotainment system, the terrible infotainment system and the trackpad and all that stuff. This is a 12.3 inch display. It's not touchscreen. It will be in the new one, but it's kind of quaintly old school, which I sort of like. And it's got this sort of fake faux wood right here. Very, very, very nicely made, well put together. You get the feeling that it's been hewn from granite in terms of quality. So as I said, this car has off-road chops. So starting from the right-hand side, you've got the height adjustable suspension system. And then you've got your H4, push down, go into L4. And you've got your 3 different modes. You've got Comfort, Eco, Normal, or you can customize it. And then you've got Sport and Sport Plus. It changes the shift pattern, it makes it a little quicker, but not a whole lot more. And then finally, on the left, you've got your mode button. You can toggle between the various modes. So you've got rock and dirt, mogul, loose rock, mud and sand, and I think there's one more, and just rock only. Ahead of those buttons, you've got your tighter radius control, steering control that I told you about earlier. This turns on your crawl control, hill descent, traction control off. There's your central diff lock. And then ECT second, that locks out first gear, so it reduces the amount of wheel spin that you might get. Ahead of the 2 cup holders, you do get a wireless charger for a phone. It's quite small, and then unfortunately trying to get it out again is like trying to sort of fiddle around with it for a while to actually get your phone out of there. If you had anything bigger than this one, I'm not sure that it would fit in there correctly. Here in the center console is a little mini refrigerator. You just hit the power button on. You can hear the little AC fans kicking in, and this actually does stay quite cool. So if you're on your way out to get some cold stuff or ice cream or meat or whatever it might be, this is a really handy place to put that in there. So now all we have to do is take it for a drive. We'll take it on a road, and then we'll take it up into the hills, and we'll show you how the all-wheel drive and crawl systems and all that kind of stuff works. Before we go, I'm going to put it into H4. All right, off we go. So how does it drive in general? Well, a little bit like the Queen Mary 2. Slow and steady, but it gets you there. With not very good mileage, but that's fine. After last week's drive in the TRX, where I averaged 8.1, 12.7 ain't too bad. The first impressions, well, first of all, I'm going to take it out of Eco because it can't pull the skin off a rice pudding unless you put it into Sport Plus or Sport S. I put it in Sport S. It keeps the suspension decently comfortable, whereas Sport S, it does crash over some potholes. So it's nice and smooth, very smooth over most rough pavement. And then when you accelerate, the nose lifts up, the suspension's quite soft, it dives a lot under braking. The brakes are pretty good, but you gotta hang on to the wheel, otherwise they will sort of do this a little bit. I've done a couple of panic stops just to test it, and they're good brakes, but it's a lot of mass. This thing weighs 6,000 pounds. It's 6,000 pounds of basically reliability. You can't go wrong. It's essentially a Land Cruiser. Everything underneath is a Land Cruiser with some of the dials and switches put in different places. That's it. It gets a decent move on. I mean, the engine's actually, the problem is the initial mass. You're trying to get 6,000 pounds moving from a stop, and you've got a 383 horsepower V8 to help you along with it, and that's not enough. But once you're on the move on a freeway and you want some power from, say, 60, it'll get up there without too much problem. All right, let's hop on the freeway. Test this at speed. Not so much. Now, going into the corners, it tracks pretty well, but the whole body rolls, and you really feel early on that it's going to understeer massively if you go in too fast. So it's just better to just drive and take it easy. Not too much wind noise either, considering its mass and its huge, massive front end and massive mirrors. All right, let's put a foot down here. And we're already at 94. It's not bad. It definitely will hustle at higher speeds. Just the physics of getting it moving is the initial problem. To Sport Plus, that'll firm up the suspension, but it seems to make it a little bit more jiggly than anything else, and you really wouldn't want to go that fast in this car anyway. It's just not built for that. I mean, it feels like a truck, which is exactly what it is. See, it'll kick down a couple of gears and it'll give you acceleration when you need it. I can't complain. Of course, that does have a catastrophic effect on your gas mileage, which is why I'm getting about 12.7. And I don't normally like white cars, but the pearlescent paint with the black trim looks really cool. All right, so here we are finally off-road. Gonna test it on this quite steep hill up here. It's pretty sandy, so we are gonna put this into L4. Push this one down. Okay, so we are in 4 low. We're also in the highest ride height, so we've got 11 inches of ground clearance. We're also going to change this. We have several different choices: rock and dirt. Rock, no. Mogul, no. Loose rock, not sure. Mud and sand. What do you think? Mud and sand?
Sure.
All right, let's go with mud and sand. All right, so off we go. I'm gonna leave the differential unlocked right now and just let it sort of cruise on its own. Very soft sand here, so just gonna see how it goes, see whether there's much slippage along this section. So far so good. Haven't needed the diff locks yet. It seems to be having no problem whatsoever getting up this hill. This is crazy. Can't even feel any wheel slip. Now this has got street tires, which is ridiculous too. This is the difference between this car and any other luxury SUV. It does this. Maybe the Range Rover's got the chops to take care of this, but this thing is awesome. absolutely go anywhere. A few little rocky bits here as we crest the top. It's quite a steep hill. It's quite rocky on this section. So I'm going to go slow because the last thing we want to do is pop a tire. That will be not too fun. Right, so we've got the hill descent control on. Hear that strange Toyota clanking while it's working. So as we go down, we'll get to the steeper bit. I cannot imagine this car having any problems going down here whatsoever. So far so good. This where it gets a little steeper, there's a few ruts in this road as well. See the crawl control stopping the wheel from slipping too much. Man, look at the dust clouds. Super easy. No problem at all. All right, now we're going to test this turn assist. All right, so activating turn assist, go into low ratio. Okay, so we're in low. We'll stay with rock and dirt, and then we have to activate crawl control. All right, we've got turn assist on. Let's go ahead and see how tight of a turn this thing will do. All right, that's pretty impressive. That's almost as impressive as a London taxi cab. And the vehicle's sort of driving itself as it goes around in a very tight turn. Okay, so we're going to do that with 4 high. We've turned off the turn assist and the hill descent control, which you need when you turn that on. We're going to do it one more time. Currently doesn't feel a hell of a lot different. Yeah, it's definitely going wider. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Highly impressed with this car. It's a pretty steep one. We're probably going to turn around at this point. Yeah, this vehicle will definitely go pretty much anywhere, even on street tires. So in conclusion, this is a great car. it's not the fastest. 0 to 60 in 7.3 is not that fast, and the Germans are going to beat you every single time. But if you want a car to last you forever, and you're going to spend $100,000+ on it, this might be the one to go for, because it's still going to be on the road and it's still going to be tackling hills in 25 years from now. Once again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, make a comment, and we'll be back soon with a new video. Out.